another saint called Saint, I forgot her name now, but she also saw this vision. And then the Bible talks about a day of thick darkness and gloominess and these things in the last days. So I guess my question to you, Mike, is there any Planet X, or this binary says, is there any possibility that such an event could happen? And if it does, what would it be? What would cause such darkness on the land?
Yeah, there is. And I think that the other person's name, I believe, because I looked this up later on when I was a kid.
Okay.
I had a experience, I guess you could say. And then later on in life, it wasn't 3 days, it was 37. Not quite 3, but it was 37. Anyway, the other person's name was Anna.
Okay.
I believe it was Anna. I believe it was.
Yeah, you're right. Saint Anna Marie something. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What drew me to that was I had Catholics, of course. They carry on that tradition of that prophecy of 3 days of darkness. And normally, what prophecy, when it comes from the Word of God, I can receive it one way. When it comes to a human being, I never discount it.
Right.
But I always have to understand it comes through a filter. We are a type of filter, so we interpret things different. But what she said was interesting, that what was happening during that 3 days. Now, we've heard talk of internet failure, correct?
Yes.
So Anna said in her prophecy, that during the 3 days, you wouldn't be able to use electricity, no light bulbs, no anything. Unless you have a blessed candle, there'll be no lighting in that home.
Wow.
I find that interesting.
Yes.
We also live in a time where pestilence and threat of chemical warfare is a very real thing. And she said that the air is going to be infected by demons who will appear under all sorts of visible forms. So that could too be a pestilence, and anybody who goes out there is going to die. So you can't go outside.
Wow.
She also said that the wicked people of the earth, enemies of the church, are going to be killed during that time. By that, and that's why it's coming in the first place, to kill the enemies.
So it's a judgment.
Of the church.
So it's a judgment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that will kill the enemies. It says the enemies of the church. It said the known and unknown is what it specifically stated. Now, of course, that was her thing. I never discount that, because they do worship Christ, right?
Absolutely.
They go through Christ.
Absolutely.
And having been around some pretty weird things in my life, now I'm not going to discount things, but I'm always attentive when somebody is bound to Christ. Could it happen? You better believe it could happen. It could happen far sooner than anybody wants it to happen too. In fact, I believe we're going to have a foreshadowing of something just like that, if not that event, something similar within, I'd say, about a 4 or 5 month time span. We have some pretty weird things brewing.
Did you say 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, 4 or 5 month time span. Somewhat of a foreshadowing.
Okay.
There are Pastor Paul, there's some people who are working at a breakneck pace to protect Europe and the USA right now, because the digital realm is a battlefield all within itself. And we are linked in, of course, network, whether private infrastructure or whatever the case is, intranet, extranet. We are linked in electronically by way of networks, and those networks are under assault continuously. I mean, continuously. Around the USA, there are people who are actually starting to make way on bringing down the electric grid. That's a very huge concern.
Wow.
Power companies are. Go ahead.
We actually had a call come in today from a man in Southern California who said, "Could you ask Mike tonight about the blackouts that are coming?" And I had never even asked you. Here you are telling us. Go ahead.
Yeah, power companies are. They restructured the power companies as far as emergency calls, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, all those agencies. are together, CIA, FBI, all of them together, because all power companies are on somewhat of a standby, right? They're going to be on a standby like that, because our power grid is under assault big time, and they know it's only a matter of time before they go down. Now, the problem with the power grid is that they're actually operational, or that power is distributed from nuclear sites, and they know that some of these nuclear sites are being probed, right? They're being probed big time, and they've already gotten through. In some cases, they've gotten through in certain areas. Critical things have been destroyed, and so this is an ongoing battle. There's no way we can cover every single area that way due to policy. If we were to militarize everything, it'd be a different story. But due to politics and people's awareness of the military and how they don't like that, that's impossible. So I also expect some sort of nuclear power plant issue to happen at least within the next 6 months.
Is that part of
activity?
Okay, so now a nuclear power plant detonation or sabotage or meltdown.
Sabotage.
Yeah,
it'll be sabotage. Yeah.
Could it cause a meltdown? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it probably will be a meltdown. That's what they want to do. They're active enemies of the U.S. Past all, the more the U.S. ventures out to the world, for example, support of operations against Russia, bad idea, right? Very bad idea. In truth, Russia could have taken the Ukraine out in 30 minutes. They could have taken that the first day.
Yes,
but they didn't, which means they're using great restraint. But the USA is utilizing that as a funnel to bolster some sort of internal club with NATO nations. That's not working too well. It's causing a deep fracturing. Now we have Europe in trouble. All sorts of things are happening because of that. But it's also polarized those against the West. Everything that happens in the world, people hate America more and more. By the way, we have 29,000 from the ages of 18 to 28 illegal immigrants that come into the nation every single week. This is every week. These are people who are qualified to go into the military, right?
Yep.
These are young men, not women. These are single men, not married.
Yep.
And so we got a problem. 29,000 per week is a big number.
That's unbelievable.
That's a big number. Now, so something is happening with that, because they already found 110,000 that were part of the PLA in China. These were troops from China. Yep. And
are they shipping them
things
back?
have become very complicated.
Are they shipping them back to China, or what are we doing?
Well, they're doing things, Pascal, but the situation is if you look at television, that's very mild compared to what's actually happening. What's happening now requires everyone, right? Everybody is people have been called up out of retirement status. People have been called up from different areas of the world back to operations within the USA. Northcom is somewhat overwhelmed. So the USA is really doing things at a breakneck pace all over the place. Why? Because we have numerous enemies who are now making moves. These guys are making moves. So they're no longer in a position where they would sit back and they didn't have the technology to overwhelm our infrastructure, things like that. It's not the case now. They can, and they are. So that's happening. We have all these different crises internally, Pascal, plus we have external problems in the heavens. Hardly anybody has any, there are no news reports or anything about the heavens, save the sun, right? Every time something happens with the sun, it consumes everybody's attention to itself. But everything else is not being analyzed, right? We have lots of probes out there. There are arguments started about a plant. I'll give you a plant conversation that was planted.
All right. That
the space is actually water. Do you know that was started internally within the USA?
Wait. Whoa. The space out there is actually water?
Yeah, that's one of the theories out there, but that was started in-house. You have a lot of in-house things that are pointing people's attention away from the heavens. And whenever you have some sort of a weird theory like that pops up, all of a sudden everybody finds every story of the heavens, ludicrous, right? Out there in the realm of Wackoville or something like that.
Right.
In the meanwhile, Earth or the entire solar system is entering into a very volatile part of the galaxy, and the galaxy itself is entering into a very dangerous part of creation itself. And so we're sooner than anybody expects, we're going to have heavenly problems that are just going to take people by storm. People are not prepared for that. They're not prepared for a meteor storm. They still think it's a joke. They're not preparing properly, right?
Nope.
It's going to become a big burden, and when it takes place, well, they're not going to have that prep time. And when it comes to, some of these prophecies like 3 days of darkness, if we were to go through early stages of that meteor storm, our atmosphere is going to be inundated with particles, causing it to be very heavy, right? It's going to cause further disruptions in the ocean as far as magma and everything else. We're going to have eruptions. Not to mention, some of those rocks are going to hit critical structures in the earth. There are 19 places within the USA. If anything hits any of those places, we're doomed.
So
right? We're just doomed.
Now you're talking about apparently a lot of debris coming in and hitting us on the earth. I mean, maybe they're small, but I mean, there's lots. You're talking about serious, right?
It's serious. For example, it is expected within 8-month period that we're going to have an impact here on this earth, right? Here on this earth. When that happens, people will start to look to the heavens. Where are they getting? If you look carefully, what they're actually doing is they're preparing to get people answers after this event, because once it happens and something breaches the atmosphere, causing possibly maybe let's say 200,000-300,000 people die, right? They're gonna say, well, what happened? How come nobody saw this? And every single soul on the earth is going to start looking into the heavens by way of stories on the internet. They are getting prepared for this. The internet, under the noses of most people, has been scrubbed. It's been scrubbed. It's been filtered. Many people who have big voices right now, they're being taken off the internet through allegations, through anything they can do. And they will succeed in doing that. Once a person is tied up in legalities and their reputation is ruined by way of the internet, then, YouTube pulls them, their Twitter pulls them, all this stuff happens. And so they have an active campaign to get ready for this, and they can't waste a moment because it's coming, right? So the sad part is people are going to get, there are going to be a lot of people hurt. There are going to be some damages in places nobody ever expected. There's all theories are going to fail as far as where things actually fall, because the entirety of the earth is going to be prone to this. Not just one spot, every spot of the earth is going to be prone to this, except your extreme, south or north locations of which nobody can occupy. So when
earlier today, they announced that yesterday, the Astro Bennu, they said, okay, we're going to tell you, it's going to hit the earth, okay, in the year 2182. There's no question. It's going to hit us. It might hit us in 2135, but if not for sure in 2182. It comes by every 6 years, and they've calculated it mathematically. And this is the first time I've ever heard NASA say, and this was NASA, say we are going to have an impact. And I'm wondering, I was going to ask you tonight is, do you think this is, even though it's 159 years away, nobody's going to care about it at this moment, but is this part of a disclosure, or to at least get the populace prepared that things are coming, so that when it starts, they're not totally unaware of possibility?
That's just for a reaction. One thing, they're good people in certain places, right? But as a whole, these agencies, they are pious, right? They're very pious, and they are part of a plan. They always are. They give good cover stories. By saying that, what have they done? What they did was they calmed everybody's fears. And they stopped everybody from looking in the heavens because it's, so far away. Nobody's gonna, in my opinion, no one is gonna be worried about that, right?
No.
Because we're gonna have a very limited amount of people on the earth by that time.
Right.
It's just not, things are going to change abruptly. And when it starts, it's not going to stop. And people are not going to be, if people were prepared for something like that, they would demand answers. In this culture that we have, they would hang their leaders. Is what would happen. And this is a real fear that if people find out the true story, if they find out certain segments of intelligence, then they would call for a lot of leaders to be jailed because they did not prepare the public for what's coming. Right.
Yeah.
And we're effectively blocked out of Russian news. Russia actively prepares its people for things like this. Actively.
That's
right?
amazing.
And so they have messages that go out past Paul almost every week. They're actually spending a lot of money building and fortifying infrastructure. People are notified that we're about to have an issue. They are already notified of this. They're watching the permafrost and things happen with that in the skies, right? They have their own space program.
Yeah,
and so they're getting their people ready now.
So they know
right now.
So the Russians are telling their population,
yes,
there is a meteor storm coming. There is a storm coming that's going to rock this world. And so they are openly announcing it and preparing the people. And it's crickets over here. There's zero. Nobody's saying anything about this.
Nothing.
You and me on Thursday night. That's it. I mean, seriously. I guess they don't care about us. I mean, what is the reasoning?
Well, they believe they know better than everybody else. If you notice in America, they speak for people. They don't listen to people. They don't listen to anything.
No.
Once they have an idea, right? They use propaganda to get everybody behind an idea. They don't listen to the populace, right? They offer the populace choices. And they say, hey, take this or that. And the people never get to decide what is what, because we're combined this reward system. That's just the way it is. And the entire world sees USA this way. So we have slipped a long way. We don't care for people anymore. We hide a lot in this country. And even if that were to ever come forward, people would be absolutely disgusted. You've had certain people that tried to tell it, but as you can see by way of demonstration and what's happening right now, it doesn't matter who you are. If you come forward and try to tell anything on any platform,
right,
you're going to get hammered. Right.
Yep.
You're going to get hammered. So that's happened. Nobody believed it. And so that person now is a nut job. Anyway, every
whistleblower that comes forward and says, look, this is what's going on, they are tarred and feathered publicly and hammered, like you said.
And here's how, when somebody comes forward with a true story, and when they tell that true story, if no one accepts them and embraces them, right, then that person is effectively ousted.
Yes.
And nobody cares.
Yes.
Nobody cares. That person has no defense. They wait on the populace to do that. They utilize social media and everything else to gauge what people are believing in, and they give people exactly what they expect, right? Because no one wants discomfort. Well, too bad, discomfort is coming, like these weather events. Why didn't they tell people about these weather events 10, 12, 13 years ago?
Oh, no, they did not.
Why didn't they do that? People should have been prepared. They should be prepared now. You have a lot of people out there, instead of taking things into consideration, they're scoffing, right? Forget about scoffers. Forget about scoffers. When the entirety of the East Coast erodes, they're not going to be scoffing too much. They're going to be crying. When all coastal cities are in danger because what happened recently in Libya, right?
Yes.
You're going to see that everywhere. Every coastal.
I mean, that was
people are going to be frightened to live in a coastal place.
That was a crazy storm. I mean, that was called Storm Daniel. And it was in the Mediterranean, and it came out 3 times when it would go ashore and come back. And that third time when it hit Libya, it just literally wiped that city out. I mean, unbelievable. A storm.
And we're still only at about 2% of the one of the development factors of what we're actually going to reach. Meaning, they're admitting now that the atmosphere carries far more moisture than it used to, right? And that we're talking about a 3-year jump in the ability of the atmosphere to hold more tons of moisture. that number is going to jump by wintertime. By December, it's going to jump again. Do you know what that means in the wintertime? When you have
Snow,
cold,
blizzards,
well, snow, hail, right? Hail. We
hail.
also have an increased density in the upper atmospheres, which is causing every space program, Space Force and the Air Force, to readjust and recalibrate instruments so that things operate and function right. They're having to reallocate different altitude settings for all satellites. Right? We have a real problem here. The Earth is undergoing changes, but nobody's talking about that stuff. And so when this other system continues to come in, we continue to feel those effects. If we survive the volcanism, if we survive the winds and all this other stuff, people will see that all the sun's photons being redirected out into space. No light will hit the Earth in those days. How long will that process last?
That's darkness.
That process could last for that can last for a month. That could last for an entire month.
That would create an unbelievable winter on the Earth.
Well, here's the difference though. We can't see infrared, right?
No.
And it just so happens that infrared waves will still hit the Earth, but without the encapsulation of photons, the Earth will get twice as hot. Oh. That's bad. So it'll be dark and burning up at the same time, right? Oh. That means volcanism. Volcanism is about to go to a brand new level. I'll say it starts right about now. It'll start going to a new level. Oceanic volcanoes, people are going to learn a lot about them. To date, they have identified 15 giant ones in the ocean that make every other volcano look like a toy. And these things are very active.
Are you serious?
And when a new continent is about to be seen, and once they start seeing it pierce the surface, every day more and more of that continent is going to become visible. It'll be brand new.
What ocean is that? What do you
That's the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic.
So
because we're still having nickel come out of the ocean floor, right? Nickel, hot temperatures are coming. Yeah. Everything is being spewed out because we have a crack in the Atlantic, which is becoming quite bad. It's opening up. So it's something new is happening. So we have all these different things happening, and people are not aware. They're not ready, right?
No, because they don't know. They have no idea what's happening. No.
Which, by the way, in my opinion, that's biblical. But that is right there in the book of Matthew that the world would not know, right? Yeah. That the signs that are giving are for those who actually read the Word of God.
Yes.
Not for those who don't, right?
No.
And it kind of reminds me of Thessalonians. It says God will send them a strong delusion that they would believe a lie, that they all might be damned who love not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So all these people who just love and enjoy what they do, they just living it up every single day, throwing everything to the wind with caution, not preparing. But they're not preparing. They're not overcoming their own sinful ways, overcoming flesh, developing a heart of repentance, learning to believe the Lord during times of trials. They're doing none of that.
No.
And they're going to find themselves grossly inadequate when these things begin to happen, because the clock has just about run out. So this is before the wartime events, Pastor Paul.
Yeah, let's go there. I mean, we haven't even got there yet. So there's going to be wars and rumors of wars, of course. We can see what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. Apparently Zelensky is going to get a ton of money again. He met with Congress. He met with the president. He spent the afternoon in the Pentagon with the top Joint Chief of Staff and the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin. I'm sure they're putting together military strategy. So we have a real war going on right now between the United States and Russia. It's a proxy war, but it's really going on.
Yep. That's a NATO front. Ukraine is a NATO front. People should see that by now. Yeah. That's a way that the USA, NATO allies can exert their strength in these times. But it's also many lives are being lost, and it's dehumanizing people is what it's doing. People are becoming numb to the idea of death itself, even with these events. These events this year causing so much death. Yeah. They're becoming numb, and this war is soon to expand. The UK, right? They should be doing things right now to bolster defense. Europe should be doing the same thing. All those nations in that proximity should be doing the same things. Other things.
What do you believe? Do you have an idea of what Putin's strategy is now going into the winter?
Putin's going to have no choice. He's going to have, listen, Pastor Paul, we're about to approach the fall, correct?
That's right.
The fall is the best tactical time to strike. It is the best. Take note, the wind patterns have to change before you start firing off chemical, biological weapons or nuclear weapons. The wind patterns have to change. And so nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, all those type weapons are going to be fired in a time where the wind patterns support, right, the populace that's firing it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to fire something into the Ukraine or the USA or somewhere like that because we're going to get smashed with those things. He didn't want to fire at us if it's going to go right back to him.
Right.
So the wind patterns have to change. And in the fall, that's the opportune time to really, enact certain preemptive tactics.
So do you think, of course, we can see every time he starts to engage nuclear weapons and anything they do, we can see it. We know as well as they do. Do you expect him to make a serious maneuver, a tactical nuke, or do something maybe to the UK or to the United States, maybe Alaska or somewhere, even anywhere in the US? Do you expect him to make a bold move this fall, or will he wait till spring again before he? Because I think if he waits till he doesn't do anything, I mean, doesn't he run into some problems?
Well, what's happening is NATO is actually making bolder moves. Keep in mind, the entire financial system is being changed, being digitized.
Yes.
CDBCs and driver's license identification, the QR code, all that's coming out. So that process has already begun. People are complaining about gas stations within the USA. You can't use cash. They're starting to complain about stores that you can't use cash. That's overseas as well. Australia's done with their pilot program for the driver's license to go pure digital on your phone, which means a combination of your medical records and everything else will be under that QR code. So that's a one-point identification system. Also, your bank will be linked in with that. And because we have a digital dollar, not the physical dollar, but a digital dollar, because we have that entire infrastructure that's already finished. It's been built, it's finished. It's very close to launch, and the federal government's now funding every transaction through a centralized system. They're ready to roll on that front, which means they'll have accountability of everybody from moment to moment, and that's what they really want, right? Once they have accountability of people from moment to moment, then they can start separating the populace based on who is who. Right? They don't know who's who right now. They don't know who's loyal, who's not. But when they consolidate all of this, that QR code, they'll be able to see exactly what a person's direction of life is. Once they see that requires everything to be digital. And once they have that, then they can do the separating, and then things really escalate, from that point. But prior to that point, while they're getting all this stuff ready, Pastor Paul, there's still some uncertainties concerning war. Russia's going to have they're going to preempt because they see the machine that the West is building and the NATO nations that's building is about to crush or push everybody back. Everybody back, right? So we're going to see relationships falter between the USA and Middle Eastern folks. I do not trust Jordan and Saudi Arabia. We should never do anything
but why is President
too personal with Saudi Arabia? Because they're going to gather intelligence on how we operate. They're going to find the holes. Mark what I'm saying. They're going to find the holes, and then they're going to tell their true Muslim-based partners exactly where weaknesses are. This is a situation where somebody befriends you to take you out, to usurp your position and take over operations. This is a situation we're in. They do this all the time, and I don't know why. It blows my mind.
But the Biden administration chummies up to Saudi Arabia like you wouldn't believe, to China like you absolutely would not believe, and they keep stiff arming Israel. They are stiff arming the United States citizens right now with the southern border. I mean, it's everything the opposite you would think you would be doing as a nation. We say we're this way, but this is what we do. That can't be denied. We're seeing it every day.
They have a failing policy. In my opinion, it's all the presidents, if you notice, trying to avoid war, what they have done was they started working with these communist nations
Yeah.
to avoid war.
Appeasement.
Right?
Yeah.
Also to try and capitalize on some of their growth, because they can't help but to see money. They cannot help that, right? These guys, they depend on, these dinners, these high yield dinners worth $50,000 a head, to continue to pay for their 5 mansions, right? How can a senator have 5 mansions and all of what they have? Because of these extra things. And they are spokesmen for corporations. That's what lobbying is. That shouldn't be strange to anybody, because they should not have the money they have, but they do. They have a lot of money, lots and lots of money. Well, they're going to protect that money. That's all they can see. So they're a lost cause. They're not loyal to the Constitution. They act like they are governors of the Constitution, but they're not loyal to it. And they actually probably don't believe in it, or they wouldn't scout the markets or anything else, right?
That's right.
So you have that philosophy, but the presidents, they're making peace with these nations for the sake of prosperity. And it kind of reminds me, right back to the word again, when they say peace and safety. Well, that phrase, peace and safety, is what they've been uttering for a long time. They've been saying peace and security, or peace and prosperity. That is peace and safety, isn't it? That's the message of peace and safety. And when they achieve it, that's when they'll tout it. That's when they, hey, we found a solution. I think that's when they actually, in Israel, I think that's when they come to a conclusion, an agreed conclusion of something regarding Israel, right?
Yeah.
I honestly do. And they're going to say, guys, we have finally achieved a path forward. We finally can establish peace and safety, and then kapui, everything's going to.
Well, do you think this,
and that's going to happen fairly quickly?
Well, Saudi Arabia is pushing this train to run from India to Europe. It has to go through UAE. It has to go through Saudi Arabia. It has to go through Israel. I mean, it makes its way. And I was just watched a 1-hour interview that Brett Baer did with Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince. And he was saying, look, we're just going to open up the economy. We're going to make India stronger than China. And we're going to build this coalition through the Middle East with Israel. He said, with Israel, and that's going to help everybody. So he was pushing this, and he's building that city, that Nome, which is outrageously 100 miles long. It's incredible. So he has an ideology to apparently invest the Saudi oil money into creating a utopia. I don't either. He's
it's already under construction.
Is he grandiose, or do they really have that kind of money?
He's going to do it. He's going to do it, and they have that type of money. They have the backing of Bahrain. They have the backing of all these different places. Fastball, they're doing it already.
Wow.
And when they finally, it should be important to note here that Israel, in my opinion, again, is split. There's an Israel they talk about, right?
Yeah.
That reminds me of another scripture where Jesus said, I know you're in the place where people say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. I believe that Israel, part of the face of Israel, they try to appease the world. But then you have another part that's the true Israel that has those Christ and biblical values that everybody is kicking to the side. That's the part they want gone. That's the part they're going to, kind of kick out. Because these other people in Israel, they will part the land. These other people in Israel,
yes,
they are subservient to Jordan. They will cohabitate with the entire Muslim populace, and they will alter their faith, worship, and everything else to suit the dynamic of the future. And so those people are thieves in the land, is what they are.
Yeah, they are there.
But you have that situation with them, and they are making deals, Pastor Paul. They're making. Netanyahu came back to try and stop that.
Yeah,
he did. But as you can see, he was stopped so fast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was stopped. They stopped his agenda at light speed, and he has a desire to have Israel be bound by faith again, to stand up by faith. And it's a very tough fight. And sometimes he does look bad in front of the cameras and everything else, but he's when he hit a brick wall when he came there, which that can only happen if that dark kingdom is taking up. I believe that dark kingdom is taking up position, right? I do, which covers all this paranormal stuff, UFO stuff, the Israel factor, this weather phenomena. Everything is starting to coalesce. It's starting to really coalesce.
So
and,
it's a kind of a grand plan. It's a master plan that's being orchestrated by Lucifer.
Sure it is.
And while he's doing
Sure it
it,
is.
the birthing pains, all these things happening in the heavens, with the heavens shaking and the meteorite storms coming, and all of these events, the atmosphere heating up, the planet heating up, the volcano. Tell us a little bit about I think it was a few months ago, you said that the core of the earth had quit spinning.
Well, they had that article out. Remember that article they had out?
I remember
they said
that.
Core of the Earth, and I was trying to cover that. That's a theory, of course, having the core of the Earth. That's not fact. It's not established fact. It's theory, but there are some properties of the Earth that have altered. They have really altered. They know the resonance has changed, which means it is operating differently. Right? It is my firm belief, due to right there in the strata of the rock formations, you find that the magnetic poles have altered, so many thousand years in intervals. And we're at the time where we're starting to alter again, because it hits a chaotic period, what's called a chaotic period. Then it realized. Come to find out, Pascal, guess what? That not only did the magnetic poles change, but the physical way the Earth sits right now, it's everything about it changed. In fact, people are going to learn more and more that
you're
a few thousand years ago, north was north, not north, but west was east, and east was west. So the sun did not rise the way it does now.
Well, the Bible says in Isaiah chapter 24 that the earth is going to turn upside down. I don't know if that means just the poles, or are we talking a physical shifting?
No, I think something physical is going to happen, because I can see the processes have already begun. They've already begun. And all the rock strata on the face of the Earth, right? The magnetic properties, the little poles and diamagnetic particles, they all point north or south magnetically, right?
Okay.
They all change through intervals of the strata. So if you dig down, to one layer, they're aligned in one way. If you dig down another layer, they're realigned in another way. You dig down again, same thing. Dig down again, same thing. Also, the trees show they keep a good history of darkness and light. So if the sun is rising in the east, right, then those trees, in orientation to a central point, those trees in the east would have their rings would be a little more grown in one direction, because the sun will be pointing in one direction or overhead for a long time, right, before it settles. Well, that reverses itself. So they noticed through the rings of the trees a massive inconsistency, meaning at some point, the sun was not rising where it does right now. And we're not talking about, 50,000 years ago. Nope. We're talking about a few thousand years ago.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
A few thousand. And so the same process is happening again, because right now the magnetic properties of the entirety of the Earth are starting to become chaotic, which means north and south pole alignments are inaccurate. They're moving too fast, just like they did in the rock strata. This always happens before the reorientation of the Earth. I also believe, because this one's quite strong, we're going to have a physical change in the rotation, right? Some of the forces that are operating in the solar system are altering other planets, right?
Okay.
They're probably not talking about this, but I'm telling you, there's some massive alterations going on with the planets. We're next. We are next. It's happening to us too. We're next.
Of the binary system out there?
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe it is.
Yeah.
I believe it's because of the binary system. And even if somebody has an argument, well, if something were out there, we'd be able to see it, right? A binary system doesn't, one sun being in close proximity to another does not mean you can see it. That's not what it means. We're talking about with celestial mechanics, close proximity could be, light years away, but they still have that effect. And so we're going to start to see some very odd and strange effects, right? Even the trail of the Earth is much bigger than that.
You've heard of Velikovsky, Immanuel Velikovsky, who wrote the book Worlds in Collision. He said that Venus and Jupiter were being affected. Back in 1950, he said those two planets are going to be severely affected from this gravitational pull before we ever feel it here on Earth. And is that because they're out there so far, and as this thing is going by?
That's right. That's right.
And
it's because of their mass, right?
Yeah,
their mass, their proximity to the sun, where we actually sit. So it's kind of like having a big magnet in a tray with an assortment of magnets, and if any of the magnets out there, the bigger magnets are going to start reacting, right, differently than the smaller magnets, due to having that combined force. So mass will equate to some sort of energetic attraction. So they'll have that plus. The composition of these planets will start to alter. In other words, people are going to look up in the heavens, and Mars is going to become incredibly bright. Number one, that will become incredibly. I bet you that will rival the light of the moon, Mars.
How does it become light? How does it? I mean, what's reflecting on it to make it?
The sun. That's the sun, right? But as Mars goes through its transition that has already begun, right? It's going to cause the sun or the Mars to illuminate quite bright. Not to mention, we're going to continue to change in our axes. The axis of the Earth is going to continue to change. They will not corroborate any of this information. So what's going to happen? People are going to be on the internet and say, well, nothing changed, right?
Right.
But the stars will be out of alignment. The moon is going to be out of alignment of its arc. The sun will be out of alignment. People who are tracking these things, who have sundials, physical sundials, physical track like Georgia guidestones. I know what people thought it was, but Pastor Paul, do you not know that they were keeping a physical track of the moon through the Georgia guidestones?
Do you know that? I knew they laid them out a certain way that had something to do with the stars, or they were sort of like what the Egyptian pyramids did.
Yeah, well, all of those are like
Stonehenge,
almost like
Stonehenge,
celestial trackers, right? Because they were checking for the alignment. Because historically, when they got out of alignment last time, great devastations came upon the earth. Well, guess what? They're out of alignment. They're totally out of alignment. We're also having time dilations happen to the entirety of the earth, which means analog clocks are going to start being way different than digital clocks.
That's crazy.
Now, digitally, they mandated a digital override or digital facelift of everything. So they could set the time at one central point. Nobody's going to worry about that. You have an analog clock. The crystal in that rock operates, or in the clock operates at a specific resonance. It's almost like a feedback chamber with electrons. Well, all that's starting to alter, which means older computers that also used a crystal resonator for timing, that's going to alter, right? So the properties of crystals are changing. They're changing. And that's a big deal, because if they change, so will the properties of water. Anyway, having said all that, Pascal, concerning this 3 days of darkness, you better believe it could actually happen. But here's what got me. Here's why I looked up this Anna person.
Okay, yep.
A long time ago when I was a kid, I had this persistent dream, and darkness was surely there. But when I became an older adult, I was laying in a bed, and in the middle of the night, I heard a trumpet that pierced all the way through my bones. Right now, this was before. Now, keep in mind, this was before I was ever into the Word of God like I am now. This is before that. This is before. This was before I talked to any soul on the internet. This was before everything. I heard that trumpet, and then all I could see was nothing but blackness. And I heard all these people asking me. They were asking, well, when is the sun? How long is this going to last? That's what they were saying. And it was pitch black. And I was told to tell them 37 days. But Pastor Paul, keep in mind, I was confused, because when I said, why are they asking? Why are all those people? They were asking me that? Why would they ask me that?
Right.
I wasn't talking to anybody back then. Right. I had no plans to talk to anybody back then. I had no plans to do anything like I'm doing right now back then.
Right.
But they were asking me, and I was told to tell them 37 days. Right. 37 days.
37 days.
That's what attracted my attention to this 3 days of darkness prophecy.
Okay,
right?
so
That's
you
what
started
attracted my
researching
attention
and you
to it.
found Anna Marie Taig or something like that, and so
Taigi, yes,
yeah,
yes, I believe it's Taigi.
okay. So when you found her, you studied her prophecies,
Right.
and because you had the dream,
Yep. Yep.
and you want to get the answers.
Yep.
You
Because the elements in her prophecy were eerily similar to certain things I've seen. For example, there was another dream when I was looking outside of a window, Pascal, and I look at that window every day now. In fact, the place I'm in right now, is a place I actually dreamt about. And I was looking out of a window. It was like a big bay window outside, and it was nothing but thick. Um, it looked like a thick burning smoke with cinders in it. Nobody could go outside, right? Nobody could go outside. And of course, that engulfed a lot of places. That engulfed everything. I mean, it was thick smoke with cinders. If you stuck your hand out there, it'd be burnt off. That's what I saw.
But do you think
I didn't quite see what she saw, right?
Well, but what she saw, she said, if you go out, you're going to die. She said,
well, this one too. You couldn't go outside.
You couldn't go outside. You know, she said there was like demons or some kind of poisonous air or whatever. But you're saying what you saw was absolutely you couldn't go outside. If you did,
in the bad,
you know,
that's right. And it was thick, right past. You could look out of your window, right, and you could see through the window, but you could see almost. It looked like just a big, thick thing of dark black smoke with cinders in it, blowing from. It looked like from north to south, from north to south. That's what it looked like. And you couldn't go out there. This dream was intense.
Do you think that was a super volcano or something went off? Or?
You know, it very well could have been. We still have Tamaulipas. It's the biggest volcano on Earth, right? But we have another problem. Remember the orcas?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
They're not attacking the boats. I have to continue to say this. They're warning people. That area is where people are going to begin to burn. That area.
Where's this?
But they're not listening.
Okay, now which ocean? Which ocean are we talking here?
That's right below. Right outside of Morocco. Right, is where the first ones were pushing. So you're looking at between Portugal, Morocco, Gibraltar, all of that.
Mediterranean.
It's a very dangerous place. There are volcanoes around there that are now they're rumbling. They are rumbling, right? Earthquakes. They had tremors out there. Prior to that event, they had the warning. Nobody was listening. And then we talked about it on there about those, I can't leave it alone, really. But they're being warned. That entire area is in trouble. The entire area. I would say all the way down to Algeria. They're in trouble.
So this is the third week in a row that you brought up the orcas. Apparently, they must be still happening. They must be still coming up and washing up on the shores. Something's going on then.
They're pushing boats. Blue whales have joined it, or not blue whales, but larger whales are starting to exhibit the same behavior. What they're doing when a boat goes by or something like that, what they're doing is they start to push the boat. It's like they get the boat driver's attention, right?
What?
That's what they're doing. Yeah, they're pushing boats. They're not attacking the boats. They're pushing. It's like they're trying to get people's attention. Now, it sounds ludicrous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But animals are always obedient. Always. Animals have indications and they have activities and things about them that right before any disaster, their behavior changes. You know what happened at them? This has been happening for a while, but do you know what's been happening recently?
What's that?
Giant squid are being seen. Now, we're not talking about giant squid under 150 feet long. We're talking about giant squid over 100 feet. We're true monsters of the deep. They're not. This isn't fanciful. This is real. China had some. Japan had some. We've had some. Right? They're starting to deep sea organisms that come from very deep parts of the ocean are starting to surface. They're starting. Big ones. The big boys are surfacing.
So apparently, these cracks in the ocean floor, the magma's rising, the heat's rising. These guys are on the move. They got to get away from it. And they're starting to come up, and it's sort of a warning to us, right?
Yeah, because if you look at the ocean right below the Mariana Trench, there's still places these creatures can go and not be affected by any of that. So why would they come to the surface? Why would they come to the surface on every continent? Right? So something is happening, and sometimes we're so arrogant, and this world is just full of non-faith that we can't quite make that connection. But every time these animals start doing that, a disaster comes every single time. And tracking volcanic data and heavily data, this Earth is changing rapidly. I mean, rapidly. So what the governments are, they know about this.
Yeah.
Right now, they're prepared for an outage that will last longer than 30 days in the USA.
A grid, right? You see, in other words, they're preparing for the grid to go down in a big way.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Know it's
that
coming.
Means communications also. That means, and so if anybody is concerned about that, they really just give us some thought. What would it take for you to survive 30 days, right? At least, at minimal, 30 days, right, to survive. If you have pets, same thing with your pets too. How would you do that with your pets? And so, because they are convinced that we're, 1,000% going to have an outage of our electrical system.
Is it because we don't have? Is it because we let our grid go archaic, or is it because there's something coming up on the Earth it's overwhelming?
Well, we're being overwhelmed. Things are already overwhelming things, and it's only a matter of a very short time before that fully takes effect. Plus, they do anticipate war over some new international policy that will take place next week. Or week after next week. They expect pushback from what they're about to do. They can't transition to this new system, right?
Is this a banking system?
Without we're talking about, you might as well say a global system, right?
Okay.
It's a personnel issue because they're ready to identify each and every individual.
Okay, so
they're ready for people to be they're ready for people to be coded in.
Yeah, to be coded in, to come under some kind of scanning process, identification.
Yeah, they're
process.
ready. They're ready for that.
They're ready to do
and
it.
what that does though is once that happens, we're going to have digital money. So everybody's money, they're not going to lose it. It'll be digital, right? Whatever that bank
it just gets shifted.
It'll be digital.
Just shifting the digital.
That's right. But what happens to countries, right? What happens to countries who operate outside of the control mechanism? They become broke. They have to get resources and everything else. They have to be a part of the world. They have to come under full compliance. Can you see what they're doing? To bring these rogue nations, they would call them, under absolute compliance is to digitize the entirety of the system, the entire system, so that any nation that's outside of that system can't do anything anymore. They can't acquire oil. Right? They can't do anything because everything will run through a new system. In order for them to continue to feed their people, they have to become compliant to the system that has just taken over.
Wow. But they don't have the infrastructure to do it.
No.
So who's
that's right.
Is America going to have to rewire everybody on top of everything else we do? I mean,
ironically, it's not an American system that we're about to have.
Whoa.
It's not an American system.
It?
No, it's not an American system.
China?
And that word, no, it's not a China system either. It's you might as well say this is more of what really is a UK system, is what it is.
Is Elon Musk part of this? I mean, with the
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, how many satellites does he have up there? I mean, he's building a constellation actually to create a 10G, isn't he?
Well, he's trying, but Elon Musk is doing a lot of things. Sadly, he's being bypassed by quite a few people, right? I guess he inspired a lot of people, but they kind of honed in on Elon because he became quite visible. And, when that happens, you slow down a lot because you can't do what you want to do. Or for example, with cars, that car that runs from water, that can get 1,000 miles to the gallon of water is awesome, right? 2,000 horsepower. Well, that's a lot of horsepower.
Are we gonna? Who's got that? Who's got the patent on that? Who's gonna bring that out?
It's already bought out. I believe that goes on the market in another month, something like that. So Tesla is. Where's Tesla? I think Tesla They're going to retrofit their vehicles. What has happened with AI, Pascal? Here it is. A stepper motor. If anybody knows what a stepper motor is, it's a motor. It's a very small motor that can offer a lot of torque. Right.
Okay.
Well, with AI is so creative. It took a standard stepper motor and turned it into a super motor. Right. So we can take standard technology and increase the efficiency far beyond our own mindsets. That's what has happened. So it took some of the motors that's already out there, and it solved some masterful equations to allow it to operate at much greater efficiency. That's how these cars with standard parts are able to have 2,000 horsepower, are able to go from, they tested that car, and they took some of those tires that go in race cars.
Yeah.
And they put it on there, and it melted those tires in about 3 seconds. Nothing can do that. Nothing can do that. And so it was that fast. And so it can take current technology and just extend the life of it enormously. Battery power also was extended, I believe they said, by, for example, a small lithium battery. I believe that it cranked out amperage by a discharge, some sort of a discharge method. It took, instead of going dead in 1 day, it went dead in a week. The same lithium battery, no change in anything except how it discharges. So AI did that.
I see that a stepper motor.
AI did that.
So a stepper motor is a small motor. That,
yes, tiny. So
very
small
tiny motor. That run,
yeah, but high torque.
High torque.
Yep. Computer controlled by controlling the coil configuration within that. So AI made it so much more efficient.
So are they going to put these in every car? Is that?
Well, Pastor, be honest, the motors that are in cars right now, right?
Yeah.
Electric cars right now, the efficiency of those can be increased dramatically. So you don't have to change the motors.
I see.
You change the circuitry, the brain of the car, and everything becomes efficient. That is the power of AI. This is what's happening right now in front of people's faces. And it's actually starting to scare folks, because it can be it's thinking outside of the box. It's doing things we'd never think of. And implants, oh my, it has done the unbelievable thing, right? It's some sort of absorption. Yeah, an implant in the human body.
Okay,
an absorption technique.
Done? Okay, tell me about that.
Well, it's an absorption technique through a material, I believe, was made in Israel, dealing with, and they used it for skin grafting or something like that. It took this material, and it came up with ways to have that material be absorbed and cause it to be a circuit inside of right below the surface of your skin, with no special procedure or anything else, just placement. The computer system that they wanted to put in everybody that would has become highly effective. Imagine a painkiller, right? You take a small little dot would be put somewhere on your body, and all of a sudden, that computer can control how your body releases dopamine, how your body releases hormones, right? That's repair. That's therapy to get rid of cancer and everything. Since cancer is a human mutated cell that was flawed in the genetics and will not stop replicating, AI successfully made a cell terminate. Right.
Wow.
Each cell in your body has a termination.
Right. There is a
termination signal.
Right.
That it can receive. Cancer won't terminate. Keeps replicating this flawed cells. AI discovered a way to have it turn off very easy way. There's even by way of genetics, there's degradation of the cell is programmed into every one of your cells. Well, they found out how to extend it. In other words, a person can go from living up to the age of 70 or 80 to the age of 120 or 200, right? And don't think they haven't done that already, because they have.
Because they can they could cause the cell that's trying to die to not to
that's right. Tell it not to degrade. That's right.
And then it lives longer.
That's right. Tell it not to degrade.
So they're redesigning the structure of the cell, the brain trust of the cell, almost by currency. Is that what they're doing? They're using currency to do this?
Well, by way of the cells, they're using a chip. That's a chip.
Okay.
That then interfaces with your nervous system in a way that will allow control of the release of hormones and different chemicals in your body,
Yeah.
which, by the way, is a language to your DNA. So within the cell, you start altering that DNA. You have, you have pretty instantaneous changes in the human body. This therapy they're doing already. This is what Elon wants to do by way of a chip. See, they know it. They know it's already been done. They just want the mechanism to capitalize and control it. Right?
Yeah.
Elon wants his system to be the #1 system. It's the cable wars all over again, except this time it's going to be a chip within people that is non-invasive.
Wow.
And what are we looking at? A time frame? I heard this time frame.
Okay.
I had this time frame from qualified people, right, that work on this. The time frame was 3 months.
What? So in other words,
So
we're
not talking about years. We're not talking about years anymore.
They want to perfect it within about 3 months.
Right.
And then,
that's right.
then they can be ready to roll it out. I mean, they got to get
That's right.
So
that's right. Because people are undergoing trials. I believe this is the 8th year of trials.
Okay.
Year number 8, Pastor Paul. Do you know what that means? That means this public nonsense about AI just coming out. It's a big lie.
See. Yeah,
there's 8 years of trials.
They're way out. They're 50 years ahead of us right now.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And so we'll finally get we'll get notified when it's too late. But
I think it's for this new system they have, Pastor Paul.
Yeah, new world order. New world. Of course, this new centralized banking is the key to the Great Reset and the New World Order, the one world governance, and they need a mechanism to drive it. They need.
That's right.
And this could be it, is what you're saying. We're close then. I heard today, and I'm going to let you go. I heard today a world leader say, we have to get going. The 2030 window is closing. We have to get going. And he was talking about advancements in technology. And I was thinking, why are they all on the same page of 2030? It's just unbelievable that it's like the beast is, Lucifer's running out of time. He's running out of time. He's got to get going.
He knows.
So we got to stay vigilant, stay prayed up, stay ready to go up.
That's a 25-year plan too, the 2030 plan.
Yeah.
So if they're saying we got to get going, that means they want to complete within 2 years.
Wow. But then we're going to watch.
I don't think they'll make it though. I don't think they'll make it. I think we're going to have some massive interruptions. I really do.
It's going to set them back.
I really do.
You think it's going to set them back? Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna set everybody back. We're gonna have some massive interruptions. I believe at that point they're gonna just tell everybody, if you want to get out of that the ruins you're in, come and join us here. I think something like that will happen. I really do, because we have too many celestial issues. We have things on the way right now that they simply cannot be discussed. But there are things on the way right now. We are right in the bullseye. It's not gonna miss us.
Mike, appreciate you coming on. This 3 Days of Darkness really went into a great discussion before it was all said and done. And I really appreciate this type of information. We're going to keep our eyes open. We're coming down to the wire, looks like. And
yeah, we are.
We gotta be ready. So I appreciate
Pastor Paul, God bless and keep you.
Thank you so much for coming and being with us tonight.
All right. God bless.
God bless.